Could you just not? Get down. Get down. This guy. This guy Wilbs, I tell you. The worst cat. Hey everybody, Ketwolski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek Discovery Discussions videos. Today we're going to be talking about the mid-season premiere of Chapter 1 of Star Trek Discovery, known as Despite Yourself. We got left off about a month or so ago with the end of the mid-season end of Star Trek Discovery, where the brave, intrepid Discovery crew utilized their spore drive to try to jump back to Starbase, I think 46. And instead of being able to do that, they appeared to enter into an unknown land. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about the things that I really liked about the episode, one of the things I was a bit disappointed about, and we're going to go ahead and talk about where the show's going to be going, continuing on into Season 2. So let's go ahead and get right into this. Okay, so one of the big things that I want to go ahead and talk about with this episode is, number one, in case you guys are unaware, Jonathan Frakes, aka William T. Riker himself, decided to grace us with his capabilities as a director and step on board and direct this episode. Now, you could really tell that a more experienced hand in Star Trek was utilized during the filming of this episode. And I don't mean that just the cinematography, which was beautifully done in a way that we haven't really seen before in Star Trek Discovery. They got away from the flat angles and just the deadpan delivery stuff, and they changed it up and did some really beautiful work in terms of just the cinematography alone. But that's something as a film kind of guy that I really enjoy. But as just general Star Trek audience, they're going to notice the fact that the characters are acting in a way that we haven't really seen them act before, in a good way. We see, number one, we see Captain Lorca beginning to act like a Starfleet captain and not necessarily just a duplicitous a-hole. He's been such an a-hole this entire show that everyone just assumes that he must be from the Mirror Universe, because there's no way that somebody from the Prime Universe would act this way. So with that being said, no, he's acting much more like a captain in this episode. He's being supportive to the crew. He's attempting to come up with different ideas that doesn't put the crew in harm's way but gets them back home. And he's beginning to take, I guess, accountability for what it is that happened to Stamets, and even has a really nice moment with Dr. Culber in the medical bay where he essentially just says, I pushed him so far just because I was so caught up with trying to win the war, and you know, I could have killed him by doing this. And he takes very much of responsibility for what had happened to to Stamets. So it was definitely nice to be able to see that kind of character action play out for him. Another really good thing that they did was the character interaction of Michael Burnham into someone who is actually starting to show off some intelligence and growth as a character as well. There's a beautiful character moment between her and Cadet Tilly that they've been hanging out almost the entire show, but this moment between them was when Tilly was having to pretend to be the Mirror Universe of herself, which happened to be the captain of the ISS Discovery, and she was very nervous about it, of course. And Burnham basically said, you know, this universe is full of cowards. It may appear to be full of people that are brave and courageous and, you know, headstrong, but it's actually full of cowards because they're constantly questioning each other and they don't have any faith in each other. And what it means to be a good captain is to actually rely on the faith of a crew that believes in you. And it was a really great moment, and it definitely inspired Tilly, it definitely inspired me, and that's kind of a dialogue character moment that we haven't really seen in Star Trek Discovery yet, where there was hope and desire to do better, and an understanding that this universe, the Prime Universe, isn't just war and you know, destruction and heavy character drama, that there is some positivity going on in there. So it was nice to be able to actually see that play out with the characters. So that was really fun to see. One of the other really things is I do need to say that right off the bat that I am a huge Mirror Universe fan. So being able to see the Discovery crew in the Mirror Universe with a lot more better graphics than we've seen in previous iterations of the Mirror Universe, I was very excited for that. So I'm a sucker for all things Mirror Universe. But I do have to say that The Discovery uniforms aren't the best, but the Mirror Universe Discovery uniforms are amazing. I really, really love the way that they looked. It was a perfect blend of what we see in TOS and what we've seen in the Enterprise episode where we went back in time, or we were in, you know, the past where they met up with the USS Defiant Constitution class. So it was a really, really great blend of that thing. We got to see the Agonizers right off the bat, which was really great. I think as a Star Trek fan, it was nice to see it, but I think they were doing a great job of introducing the Mirror Universe and its brutality to maybe brand new fans of Star Trek that they're unaware of what the Mirror Universe is all about. So that was really, really well done, I thought. I really loved the montage that they did inside the episode where they've realized that the ISS Discovery of the Mirror Universe has also been transported into the Prime Universe, and they have essentially replaced them. And so they go ahead and attempt to redress up the entire ship into the ISS Discovery. And it was a really fun, I thought, a really fun montage of changing out uniforms, of learning about who your Mirror Universe counterpart was, and trying to figure out, you know, how it is they're supposed to act and look, and the way the ship's supposed to feel. So it was really great to see that. And we had a great character moment as well with Cadet Tilly when she has to pretend to be this badass, you know, really like crazy kind of captain, and that murdered her previous captain in their sleep and all this crazy stuff. So it was she had to really dig deep and kind of step up to the plate, so to speak. She's always been kind of a nervous character, but in this episode she steps up to the plate and really delivers, I think, from not only a great aspect of it from an audience member, but as her character is now growing away from just a shy cadet that doesn't really know anything into somebody that's really starting to become a seasoned Starfleet officer. So that was really, really great. Another big thing that I really liked was the fact that the Spore Drive is essentially out of commission. Stamets can't get back in the machine as we understand it right now, and it's kind of become its own ex machina situation. So to put the crew in a situation where they're not at home, they're in a Mirror Universe, and they have to figure out a way to get back home, and they cannot use the Spore Drive, I thought it was really great to see the crew trying to work together as a team to come up with a way to get everybody back home in the safest way possible. That was a really great thing. We haven't seen too much of the team effort happening on Star Trek Discovery, so I thought that was something that was a little bit unique to this episode. And it was also nice because it was a bit of a dynamic shift. The show up to this point has been a lot of internal drama and less external stuff. I mean, there's a war setting, but it's been mainly internal drama between all the different crew members. Up to this episode, though, kind of shifted it, where obviously they're in like this crazy dangerous universe, and now the internal drama is kind of played down a bit, and we're now dealing with, as a team, they're going to be dealing with all of this external drama and all of this external danger, which is something that Star Trek is kind of based about. You know, it's usually the crew versus any adversity. So seeing the crew work together against this adversity was something that we hadn't really seen yet, and that's, I think, really what made this episode feel more like Star Trek. So those things were all really, really well done. The last thing I'm going to mention is, because this is going to transition me into the thing that I didn't like, which is the reveal of Ash Tyler being Vok. Obviously, we've already kind of known this. It's not really like a big reveal, but they did a really fun way where he confronted L'Rell in the brig, and she begins to recite the words of T'Kuvma, and then they recite them together at the same time. And it was fun to see Ash Tyler, the actor, doing not only just the Klingon voice, but he was doing the accent and voice style of Vok with the face of Ash Tyler. So it was a really fun, unique way of kind of teasing that fact out to the audience members. They could have just made it boring and said, "You are Vok," and that would have been like the only reveal. So, yeah, I thought that was really fun. So that, like I said, that transitions me into the things that I didn't like, and they were ironically centered around Ash Vok's storyline. Number one is, I thought we were going to see a sequence where as Burnham was going through this data core that they collected to learn more about the mirror universe, that they were going to uncover the fact that Ash Tyler doesn't exist in the mirror universe. Because in my mind, why would Vok and L'Rell come up with the same, whatever their plan is, come up with the same plan in the mirror universe to try and steal the Discovery when they're not at war with the Federation, the Klingons aren't at war with the Federation, it's just a small rebellion that's at war with the Federation, or excuse me, the Terran Empire in the mirror universe. So I don't know, I thought that was kind of weird. I thought that would have been a really fun way to start to build a rift between Michael Burnham and Ash Tyler when she's like, well, why don't you exist in this universe at all? That's really strange. And that could have been starting to raise questions about who he is as a character to the rest of the crew. And then I didn't really like the fact that they just up and killed Dr. Culber. Ash Tyler goes to him and says, listen, I need you to run more tests on me. There's something wrong with me. And sure as shit, Dr. Culber realizes that his bones have been redone, all of his organs have scar tissue, his cranium's been redone, all this crazy stuff has happened to him, and he basically sits there and says, you know, you're not fit for duty. And Ash Tyler, who needs to go on an away mission with Michael and the captain, just snaps his neck and just walks out. So obviously they're going to find out that he killed him. Obviously the ship's got security cameras in there. There's going to be a way for them to figure that out. So I don't know what his plan is at this point, but I am disappointed that Dr. Culber just essentially died. Especially in this episode, because he actually steps up a lot in this episode in terms of his character. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not quite sure if that's the end of him completely, but as of right now, he is dead. First casualty of the USS Discovery in the mirror universe. So, with all of that being said, I do want to say that I'm very excited to see what the rest of Chapter 1 has in store for us, and then going into Chapter 2 towards the end of the year. This is the first time I've actually been super excited to see what the next episode of Star Trek Discovery is going to be. I've always been kind of interested in it, but this one I'm like chomping at the bit of how it is that they're going to escape the mirror universe and get back home. Now, their plan inside of the show is to utilize the same method that the Tholians did to pull the USS Defiant Constitution class into the mirror universe that we saw in the Enterprise episode. They do a direct connection to that. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think they're going to have to come up with another method. So that's kind of interesting to see how that's going to unfold. Another big thing that I think that we're going to get to see in the next couple of episodes is they've been hinting at this Emperor that's been there. We haven't seen an Emperor before inside the Terran Empire. A lot of Beta Canon fans know that Spock eventually becomes the Emperor in multiple realities of the mirror universe. So everyone kind of knows what happens, but they don't know where the Emperor is at this point. So my theory is that they're going to bring back Michelle Yeoh, and she's going to reprise her role as Philippa Georgiou, as the Empress Philippa Georgiou. And I think that they're going to connect her directly back to Hoshi Sato, because if you guys remember at the end of the Enterprise Mirror Universe episode, she essentially has command of the Defiant and declares herself Empress and establishes a Sato dynasty that lasts for about 120 years, and that's all in Beta Canon stuff. So I think they're going to connect those two things together, and I think it's going to be a great character moment between Prime versus Michael Burnham dealing with the guilt of her captain dying and being confronted with a mirror universe brutal version of Philippa Georgiou. So that'll be a really fun dynamic, I think, to see that play out on screen. I do think that we're going to be probably spending one more, maybe 1.5 more episodes in the mirror universe, and then we'll get back to the Primeverse. I think once we do arrive back, they're going to give out the Klingon cloaking technology, and I think that mixed with the loss of T'Kuvma's ship will essentially end the war story arc. And I'm basing that off of, number one, what I've seen on screen, and also what the two showrunners have talked about in a recent interview, where they said that now that we've moved from 10 years away from Kirk and Spock, and now they're going to 9 years from Kirk and Spock in Chapter 2, they want to try to bring the show more towards the hope and light and bright future that we see in the TOS era. So it seems like they're going to be ending the war story arc and then moving on to more away missions and more traditional Trek-like episodes, but still keeping those internal character arcs going through all the different episodes and different chapters. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. I think they run the risk of you rehashing a lot of old Trek stuff, which is what the Orville's doing right now. So in order to keep that fresh, they need to keep that character drama at least fresh and interesting. So we'll see how the show goes, though. I'm very excited to see what happens with the show. I'm very excited to see how this all plays out in the mirror universe, and then how we get back and how they're going to bring back Dr. Culber. My current working theory is Stamets will utilize the spore drive one more time, and he will not only jump back to the Primeverse, but he will jump back in time before they accidentally enter into the mirror universe, essentially saving Dr. Culber's life. And just kind of resetting these couple of episodes. That's my guess, and that would also explain why no one's talked about the mirror universe up until we see the episode of TOS, because if they go back in time, it essentially erases the fact that it even occurred to begin with. So we'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. I'm curious to see what's going on. Anyways, that wraps up. I know I've just been rambling on for like 15 minutes, but I want to hear what all of you guys and gals thought of this episode. Did you like the mirror universe touches that they did? Do you think that we're going to be seeing Empress Philip or Georgiou? And how do you think that the USS Discovery is going to be getting back into the Primeverse? Is it going to be a fun little way with the Tholians, or is it going to be utilizing the spore drive in some fashion? Anyways, guys and gals, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please throw a like and subscribe up on the old YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at RealKetwolski. I am curious again to hear what all of you guys and gals think, and I will see all of you all next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!